friends, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Stacy and I am the Chapter Conundrum, and today I'm joined by my husband, the Bookish Drummer, because we have another fun game for you guys. And this one we're entitling, what is it, the Frankenstein Book Challenge?
Yes.
So essentially how this is going to work is we have, I think, 10 elements of books, and I'm going to list them out here, that we're going to have to piecemeal together from a book selection that I don't know what he's picked for me.
You will have to do it.
Yeah.
I picked out the books. You're going to have to Frankenstein this whole concoction.
Yeah. So essentially, I'm going to be trying to pick out which book of his stack I want, like, the villain from, and the plot from, and the writing from. And I have no idea what's coming next. I just have to go as they're being pulled out.
One at a time.
Yeah. So it should be very interesting to see how this ends up. And then at the very end, there is an extra book in the stack that I can use for a swap. But the caveat is that I don't know what that book is going to be. And I have to decide what the swap will be before I know what the book is.
Yes.
Okay.
In case you do your 10 and you really don't like one of the elements, you can choose to swap.
But it's a gamble because, like I said, I'm not going to have any idea what this extra book is.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
And keep in mind, once you make a decision, there's no takebacks. So like the first book, you have to pick one of the things. And then when you get to the 10th book, you got to go with that.
Okay.
So your first option is, well, your first book, is The Hammer.
Ooh, by KJ Parker. Okay.
So what element are you going to go with?
I think this is tough because there's a lot of good things I could go with. I don't necessarily think I would pick the plot in this one, but I could go with the antagonist. I could go with the main character. I could go with the author, or I could go with like the atmosphere in this one. All strong elements of this book. I think, you know what? I'm going to go genre or subgenre because this is dark fantasy.
Okay.
And it is alternate history. So that kind of makes it a little bit different. There's no magic in this at all, but it's fantasy in that it's like an alternate history. So yeah.
So you're going to go with dark fantasy?
I'm going to go with like a dark fantasy alternate history because I feel like that is going to be interesting for me.
All right. Your second book is It.
Ooh.
By Stephen King.
Okay. Now, this I haven't read, so that kind of changes things. I know I definitely don't want King as the author because I have very mixed experiences with him. Do I want Pennywise as the villain in an alternate history? Dark fantasy?
Not if you
Probably
want it, not
not.
if you want it like realistic, like The Hammer is.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't want the length. I know that much because this is a chunky boy. Do I want the side characters? Do I have the Losers Club?
Well, the Losers Club are the main characters. They're not the side characters.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fair.
The side characters would be like the parents and the people in the town and like the bullies.
Yeah.
Those would be the side characters.
It's a possibility. But I think I might go with the atmosphere on this one.
Kind of a spooky vibe.
Yeah, because I feel like a spooky kind of atmosphere with like, I'm assuming there's like underground sewer things in here. That could, there may not be sewers in like the alternate history, depending on what time period we're taking from the setting when I choose that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'm going to go atmosphere on this one.
Okay. I was very interested to see what you would pick from this.
Okay.
I thought you might go with length for like a big epic fantasy.
I prefer when it's in different installments in a series, when it's going to be like super long.
And your third book shall be...
What do we got?
The Good Samaritan by John Mars. You recently read this and really enjoyed it.
I did. Given that I have a dark fantasy going on, I don't want to pick it for the plot, but I did really enjoy this for the plot. It has an amazing villain or antagonist, so that's a thought. I don't know if I want John Mars to be my dark fantasy author. The prose is pretty straightforward though, so that is a good thing. And then the side characters, maybe not in a dark fantasy. I think I'm gonna go prose on this one because it's very straightforward, but it also is like leading you into dramatic events sort of thing. Yeah, I think the prose would couple well with an interesting villain in more of a darker tone, as this is like a darker toned book and would have some dramatic effect. So yeah, I'm gonna take the prose of this one.
Interesting. I thought you might have went with the villain.
I
Because you said the villain was very compelling.
Very compelling and gave me a very visceral reaction. But I just don't know that it's gonna fit into the mold of like everything else I have going on so far.
And you don't know what villains are gonna be coming up, if any.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna say prose.
okay.
What's next for me?
What's next is Brent Weeks,
Ooh.
The Way of Shadows.
This gotta be plot. This is a plot I can read over and over and over and over. And it's essentially, if you don't know, this follows a young boy who's a street orphan, and he decides that he wants to better his circumstances, so he's going to track down the master assassin in town and convince him to apprentice him. And from there, it's like a lot of political intrigue in the town unfolding, finding out what's going on behind the scenes. There's some magic involved. I just feel like this will pair very well with like an alternate history, because it also is like very subtle magic that just kind of gets introduced at the end. Yeah. And we like an assassin fantasy, or at least I do. So
you went with that very quickly.
This was a 10 out of 10 plot for me, okay? This is one I could read over and over. So, all right, what's next for me?
What's next is Dungeons and Drama.
Ooh.
Another one of your new favorites.
Okay, well, I'm definitely not going author on this one, because I feel like that would be weird. But my options are villain or antagonist. There isn't really one necessarily in this book, so that's not going to work. The side characters could be funny, because this is a group of people playing D&D. And so I feel like having that sort of element in like a spooky dark fantasy would be kind of fun. The length is too short for a fantasy, so I'm not going to use it there. The protagonist could be interesting, because she's very reactive and emotive, and you definitely kind of get a sense of everything going on there. I think I'm going to go side characters here, though, because I just feel like that'll be a really funny element.
Okay. You don't think that'll clash with the genre of dark fantasy and the atmosphere of like a horror? You think that'll clash?
I think it's going to be fine, because the side characters are going to like creatively try and overcome their problems, because they're D&D players, right? So like maybe it's the least of the worst options, I think.
Okay.
The least worst option.
Maybe it'll work if Brent Weeks is writing it.
Well, we don't know who's writing it yet.
Oh, well, you have the plot, I mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The Way of Shadows plot.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be like involved in like the street orphan stuff, or they could be involved in like the political unfoldings or other things going on in the town.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it could be interesting.
So we're about halfway through. You've picked 5 books, right?
Yeah.
Shaping up to be a very interesting book.
Yeah.
Now we got 5 left to go.
And some of the very important ones to me still to come. So that makes it kind of interesting. Like, I don't know if you can tell, I'm probably looking over here, but I have kind of like put a list of how I would rank each element of importance to me. So I'm like considering that as I decide my fate here.
Your next book, 6th book, is Malice.
Ooh.
By John Gwynne.
I'm going author. I already know. So the way that John Gwynne tends to write, even if it's not involved in the plot, well, I do think it will couple very well with kind of like the political unfolding and like discovering more layers to the political aspects of the plot of Way of Shadows. But he writes things where you get like little clues of foreshadowing, and you're always trying to piece and puzzle things together. And I just feel like that will be a really good vibe. Plus, I also think like his writing could suit a darker tone fantasy alternate history. So yeah, I'm definitely going author on this one.
Interesting. You're not going to go with maybe the villain or the length, because it's a pretty decent length for fantasy.
But author's more important to me than the length at this point. And while it does have a compelling villain, I feel like it's also kind of ambiguous who the villain is for a while, or at least because there's more than one, right? So yeah, that's a big part of what you're trying to piece together, is like who fits into this prophecy that's unfolding and what roles do they fit into. So it's a lot of theories on like who is who and who's what figure. So yeah, I like a more kind of a villain where you understand more of the context up front, more of what they're trying to accomplish and their motivations.
It wouldn't be the villain in the context of this book. It would be taking the villains and putting it in the plot of Way of Shadows.
Yeah, I just feel like the vibe of the villain that's overtly the villain in here, it's like, yes, you know he's doing awful things, but you don't get a full understanding. Like, you're still trying to piece things together, and then the other characters you're like ambiguous on. So I'm gonna go author.
Okay. All right, for the 7th book, we have personal favorite of mine,
Okay.
Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neville.
Okay. This, I think I'm gonna go main character.
Ah, so which main character?
Vincent, I think.
Vincent?
I think.
Okay.
I feel like with the plot of Way of Shadows and John Gwynn's writing, with like KJ Parker's setting and subgenre of dark fantasy, like I think he's more of the better fit for those things. And I also think he's more of the reactive character. Like, when something crazy goes down, he's not afraid to tell you how he's feeling about it, and that's something I really enjoy in a character. And so yeah, I think I'm gonna take Vincent as the main character from this one.
Okay, that's fair, because this book, you could argue, has a couple main characters.
Yeah, you could, but I'm gonna say Vincent, and I'm gonna use him as the main character in this Frankenstein of a story. All right, what do we have next? So the categories remaining are villain, setting, length, and then a potential swap.
Okay, for book 8, we have 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami.
Okay, I'm gonna take the length of this one, because if you know me, I don't read Murakami really. The one I have tried was not a good time. I don't tend to enjoy magical realism. So I don't want the villain or antagonist of this one, and I don't want like the modern Asian setting of this one necessarily. I'd rather take the length, because I feel like that's gonna be suitable for a good fantasy with a lot of layers and unfolding.
Okay, well, keep in mind, this is an 1,100-page book.
I'll take it. You know what? If John Gwynn is writing a plot similar to Way of Shadows, I would read all 1,100 pages and eat that up. It would take a bunch of brain power, but I'd be having a great time.
All right, so far you've got an 1,100-page dark fantasy with a whole bunch. We'll go after it, or
We'll do a recap.
We'll go over it at the end. But you've got 2 left. You've got villain and setting.
Yeah, so I'm hoping we have a good villain pop up here. And setting, I mean, it could be really weird to have like this epic fantasy tome in like a modern day setting, so we'll see.
Next, we have The Hunger Games.
Ooh, okay. I think I'm going setting on this one, because I'm all for a dystopian setting, first of all. But
Okay.
also, I feel like it could, like, I think the alternate history fits well with the world of Panem, sort of.
Okay.
I do think there's also a lot to explore. So if there's an 1,100-page book, you would get a decent amount of world building, like through exploring some of the districts and what happens there. And also, I feel like it could go well for a very layered political plot.
So
like,
sorry.
Like, you could slowly uncover more and more things as you learn more about each district.
So how do you think the setting would work with the plot of Way of Shadows?
I think it would probably open in Panem, and maybe he'd be like, you have the street orphan in the main city who's learning to be an assassin. Maybe he's sent on a mission to one of the districts to a prominent figure, and he slowly uncovers more things about like a political plot line or some kind of rebellion through the districts.
Okay.
I think that could kind of mesh interestingly.
Very interesting decisions.
Yeah, I think Snow is a compelling villain, but I'm just not sure he's like the best fit for everything else I have going on.
So you saved villain antagonist for last.
And it's like one of the most important things. So I am nervous to see how this is gonna go.
I think you will be happy.
Oh, okay.
Because we have Golden Sun.
Yes. We have Aja. Aja O'Grimace. She's a very compelling villain. Not only is she very competent, but she also is like, I don't know, she just gets under your skin, and she is actually successful in like accomplishing things towards her ends. And you do also get a sense of like what her basic motivations are. It's maybe not as layered as I would like to explore, but I feel like with everything else going on here, it suits decently well enough. Like Aja could be competing to make a kill with our main character assassin. Also, I feel like Vincent and Aja would kind of be like a funny thing to offset each other with, because Aja is more like serious and competent, and I think Vincent would kind of be like just learning and bumbling, and it would be like a very tense situation because you can see how competent Aja is. And so yeah, I feel like it would make for a tense story, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's go over all of the things that you have picked.
Yeah, and then I'll decide whether I need a swap.
Okay, and you've got this listed in terms of your priority.
Yeah, and that's probably how I'll list it up here for everybody as well.
So, for number 1, we have plot, and you chose The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks.
10 out of 10 plot, definitely keeping that. I'm not mad about how it fits in with everything else I picked too.
And number 2, we have villain antagonist, and you chose Aja from Golden Sun.
Also very happy with that choice. She's definitely one of my favorite villains.
And number 3, you chose John Gwynne as your author of this Frankenstein book.
Especially very happy with that, considering this is an 1,100 page tome. And also considering the plot of Way of Shadows and how Brent Weeks kind of uncovers more and more of the political context of like what's happening surrounding this city and how we're going to be moving forward. I think he's a good fit. And I also like that he will fit well with the tone of like our subgenre.
So it's going to be a 1,100 page book with 900 chapters.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Given that this is like an alternate history, dark fantasy with an assassin fantasy, it kind of is going to give me the vibes of like 11/22/63 with the length that it's in. Though I don't know that it would have any like time travel elements, but it just would be fun. And I loved that book, if you're curious.
Number 4, we have prose, which you went with John Mars.
I'm not mad about that. I think he has good, straightforward prose. I think he's good at writing character motivations or like explaining things in the prose.
But would he be good at writing fantasy prose is the thing.
I'm not mad about it.
He's definitely more of a thriller author.
He is, but then also I'm not mad about it because our subgenre is like alternate history. So it could have roots in like the real world and kind of feel like the real world in terms of prose. And I also don't think like John Gwynne would have a really hard time writing in John Mars' voice necessarily. It's not the worst fit. It's not my favorite element, but it's not the worst fit.
For me, that sounds a little weird, but you do you.
You haven't read The Good Samaritan yet, so I think that's part of it. Like, the way he crafts that story is a bit different than his other books. Like, normally in John Mars' books, you have, like, several points of view and you rotate between them and you're slowly, like, weaving together a story. But in Good Samaritan, you get a lot of one POV, then you get a lot of a second POV, and then in the third part, you get them intermixed to tell, like, the outcome of the story, essentially. And so, like, I don't think that that would necessarily be, like, a bad structure for this book.
All right. Number 5, the genre, you went with The Hammer, which is kind of more of a dark fantasy alternate history.
Yeah. And I'm not mad that there's, like, not really much magic going on with everything else we have paired in here.
And then number 6, we have your setting, which is The Hunger Games.
Yeah, so Panem. I'm not mad about that either. I'm all for dystopian vibes, and I think it could weave well, interestingly, with the plot of Way of Shadows and, like, the tone of John Gwynne's writing. So, yeah, I think that's fine.
And number 7, your protagonist, you chose Vincent from Sleeping Giants.
Yeah. This is not the best fit, but I'm also not angry about it. I think it could make for a really interesting book for me personally. It wouldn't be a main character that's to everybody's taste in this kind of book. But I think if we're just considering, like, my tastes, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Number 8, for atmosphere, you went with It by Stephen King.
Yeah, so I'm not sure necessarily how well this fits into everything else now that we have more of the full picture. How it's more of, like, a spooky vibe. I'm not sure how that kind of pieces together. I guess, like, maybe there's some mysterious, like, tense things happening in either the city or the district that we're gonna, like, uncover. Yeah. It's hard also not having read it to, like, really pin this down.
Well, it's definitely a horror book.
Yeah. What, do you have any thoughts of, like, furthering that?
The atmosphere?
Yeah. Like,
Well,
how well
I
do you think
mean-
it fits with everything else?
You said stuff about like uncovering, but a lot of a book is trying to figure out about Pennywise and about his past, and a lot of people are trying to dig up stuff, so like that could work.
I could see that working like with Aja, or in terms of uncovering like different aspects to the world. So yeah.
Number 9 is the length, which you chose 1Q84, which is 1,100 pages.
I'm not mad about it with the rest of the combo I have, because I will eat this up.
And your side characters are from Dungeons and Drama. which
Yeah,
is
that's a little wonky. I mean, you have like contemporary teenagers in this like alternate history in Panem in the districts. That might be a potential swap.
So yes, that's what we're coming to here. So you've pretty much finalized these 10, but you have the option to swap one thing here with another mystery book. And if you do that, then it's final and you have to go with it. Or you can stay with what you have.
I think I'm going to swap the side characters because it's probably one of the least important elements compared to everything else here. So even if I end up with something that like doesn't mesh perfectly, I don't necessarily think the choice I have in there right now meshes perfectly. So yeah, I think I'm going to swap the side characters and we'll risk it and see how this goes.
Okay, I hid the mystery book over here.
Oh, you did you?
And your mystery book is Outlander.
Ooh, okay.
So the side character's an Outlander.
Yeah, I think that could be interesting because they're kind of like a ragtag, tight-knit group of brotherhood. So I think that could work very well with like the street orphan gang elements of the story. Or like maybe some side characters in one of the districts if we spend a lot of time there. Like I feel like it works well with the themes of like dystopia and rebellion, obviously. So yeah, I think I'm happy with that swap actually. It worked out for the best.
So a lot of like Jamie's relatives,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like that better than Dungeons and Drama?
I think it fits better with the overall vibe of this Frankenstein book we've got going on.
All right, so to recap, you've got an 1,100-page book written by John Gwynne with the plot of Way of Shadows in a kind of a dark fantasy alternate history. Main character of Vincent from Sleeping Giants with the villain Aja.
In the world of Panem.
In the world of Panem. In the prose of John Mars, which I think is still a little weird. But
it's not the most egregious fit.
In the atmosphere reminiscent of It by Stephen King, with side characters from Outlander.
Yeah, I would eat this up.
Very interesting. I mean, obviously, this challenge, you're not going to end up with a perfect thing, but
yeah,
you're happy with it?
I'm very happy with how this came out. For somebody with my reading tastes, I think it was spot on. The only kind of iffy one is, like you said, the prose of John Mars. But I think if you read The Good Samaritan, you would have a better sense of, like, what I'm thinking, maybe.
I guess, but like
he has very straightforward writing, which is something I tend to enjoy. It'll definitely be very different than like Brent Weeks or KJ Parker's writing, but I'm not mad about it.
Well, as long as you're happy with it.
Yeah, he doesn't tend to overly describe things, which I like.
It's your Frankenstein book.
Yeah.
What's the title of this book going to be?
I mean, it can't be The Way of Shadows. But it's the plot of The Way of Shadows, and that suits well for an assassin fantasy. So maybe something with shadows in the title. Yeah, I don't know.
The shadows of what's the Hunger Games setting?
Panem.
The shadows of Panem.
Assuming like Aja and Vincent are both assassin figures, plus we have a master assassin somewhere.
Vincent.
It's a little unconventional.
Vincent and Aja's magical mystery tour.
No, that's too cheesy for a dark fantasy.
I know.
I don't know. I'm not the best at coming up with titles, but I am very happy with how this experiment turned out. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of this Frankenstein book. Would you read it? What choices would you have made that were different than mine? Were you yelling at me when I was making any of these selections? And also don't forget to head over to Jake's channel to check out him putting together a Frankenstein book. I think we're going to upload them the same day, so it should be out now. And yeah, Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out if you want to, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.